Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing very well. So today I'll be teaching you your science chapter number 13, that is air, water and weather. So now let's see chapter at a glance, that is air around us, effects of heat on land and water, then factors that help evaporation, impurities in water, hot and cold air, water and weather, condensation, purification of water. So that will be the topic we will cover today. So now let's see the engage. Here you can see that in the picture, label the different stages involved in water cycle. Okay, so you have to do this. Now let's see the topic, that is air around us. Our planet Earth is surrounded by a thick layer of air. This layer of air is called atmosphere. There is more air near the surface of the earth. As we go higher, the layer of air becomes thinner. That is why mountaineers and astronauts carry oxygen cylinders with them. Now let's see what is hot and cold air. Moving air is called wind. The heat of the sun affects the movement of the air. The sun heats up the air, making it lighter. The hot and lighter air rises up and the cool air takes its place. This movement of air causes wind to blow. So now let's see effect of heat on land and water. Land and water do not absorb or lose the same kind of heat at the same time. The difference in heat between the land and sea causes sea breeze in the day and land breeze at the night. Now let's see what is a sea breeze. During the day, when land gets warm, the air above it also gets warm. Warm air is lighter than cool air. It therefore rises. Cool air from the sea moves to take the place of the warm air, and that is called sea breeze. So here you can see the picture of sea breeze. So now let's see what is a land breeze. During the night, the land cools quicker than the sea. Warm air above the sea rises, cool air from the land takes its place. This causes the breeze called a land breeze. Here you can see the picture, that is land breeze. So now let's see the another topic, that is water and weather. More than 70% of Earth's surface is covered with water. In nature, water exists as snow or ice, liquid water and water vapor. The states of water are interchangeable. Weather is the day-to-day condition of a particular place. So here you can see the picture and you can get the idea about the weather. So now the person who studies the weather is called a meteorologist. Weather predictions are made by forecasters whom you see on television making weather forecasts. The weather of the sun causes winds to blow. It also causes changes in the state of water. Due to the changes in the state of air and water, change in the weather takes place. So now the change of water into water vapor is called evaporation. The heat of the sun causes evaporation of water. Water becomes invisible water vapor. The water vapor being lighter rises up into the atmosphere. When water vapor reaches the colder upper layer of the atmosphere, it condenses to form water droplets. These water droplets group together to form the clouds. As the clouds move along with the air currents, the water droplets join together to form bigger drops. When they are heavy enough, they fall as rain. The continuous movement of water within the earth and atmosphere is called water cycle. So now let's see factors that help evaporation. So first is wind. Evaporation is faster when it is windy. Blowing wind helps evaporation. Moving wind absorbs water easily. Now the another is temperature. Evaporation is faster when the temperature is high. Next is dry air. Evaporation is faster when the air is dry. Next is surface area. Water evaporates quickly if the exposed surface area is large. Now let's see condensation. What is a condensation? The change of water vapor into water by cooling is called condensation. And if you will see the knowledge basket, you will get to know, take a glass of cold water and hold it near the steam coming out of the kettle. You will see the tiny drops of water in the steam cooling down and coming together. They become bigger and ultimately fall down. So now condensation and evaporation also give rise to the other conditions. First is fog. Sometimes evaporation takes place but the clouds form very close to the surface of the ground. This means the air becomes full of tiny droplets of water vapor. It is like being in a cloud. This is called the fog. Now let's see. Second is mist. Mist is lighter than fog. During winter season, the water vapor in the air condenses to form very small droplets around the fine particles of dust and smoke present in the air. These drops remain suspended in the air, and this is called the mist. Next, dew. After a cold night, dew can be seen on the grass and on the leaves. This is because during a cold night, air holds less water vapor than the hot air. So, the water vapor condenses into drops of water called the dew. Next is frost. When the temperature drops below 0 degrees Celsius, remember that, the water vapor freezes, form icy crystals. This formation of ice on the grass blades or on cold objects is called the frost. So now next is clouds. A large quantity of water vapor rises from the sea, lakes and rivers by evaporation. When this water vapor reaches high up in the cool layer of the air, it condenses on dust particles floating in the air. These condenses water particles together form the clouds. Next is rain. When these rain clouds rises higher up, they are cooled down. Then the drop of water in the clouds become too large and heavy, so they fall down in the form of rain. Next is sleet. Sometimes raindrops falling down to the ground pass through very cold layers of air. They get frozen into irregular pieces of ice. These falling crystals of ice are called the sleet. Next is hail. Okay, hail usually falls during thunderstorms. It forms in a big dark cloud. When sleet is blown up into the clouds by the wind, the crystals of ice join to grow big in size and round in shape. These ice balls come down to the earth. We call this as hail. The falling ice balls are called hailstones. Hailstones are sometimes quite big and cause damage to the standing crops and plants, kill birds, cattle and other animals caught in the open. Next is snow. When the air above is sufficiently cold, water vapor in the clouds freezes into minute crystals of ice, which are very tight. They gather together and fall down in the form of puffs. It is called the snow. Snowfall is very common or on hills and mountains, which are very high and is generally seen in winter. Next is humidity. The air contains water vapor. The amount of water vapor is contained called humidity. Warm airs can carry more water vapor than cold air. This is why in some hot places it is very humid. At humid places your skin feels sticky. There is no much water in the air that there is so much water in the air that you sweat and cannot evaporate. So now let's see the next topic, that is impurities in water. The water in well, rivers and lakes is not pure due to the presence of impurities which cannot be seen. Impurities which are dissolved in water and are not visible are called soluble impurities. Next, impurities like twigs that do not dissolve in water and therefore can be seen are called insoluble impurities. So I hope you have understood there are two types of impurities, soluble and insoluble. Now let's see purification of water. Impure water can make us sick. Purification of water can be done using various methods depending upon the kind of impurities present in it. Now let's see removal of insoluble impurities. Methods used to remove insoluble impurities from water are sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Sedimentation. So in this method, impure water is allowed to stand for some time. Insoluble impurities present in water settle at the bottom. Here you can see the picture of sedimentation, and you can also see the impure water then sedimentation, and then impurities at the bottom. In these three stages, you can understand the process of sedimentation. So now let's see the next topic, that is decantation. The matters that settle at the bottom when water is allowed to stand for some time is called sediment. The clear water above the sediment is carefully poured into another vessel without disturbing the sediments at the bottom. This process is known as decantation. Now after that there is an activity which you have to perform. Okay, now let's see the next topic, that is filtration. So this method of removing soluble impurities present in water is employed using a filter. A clean piece of cloth, strainer or a filter paper may serve as a filter. Separating tea leaves from the prepared tea using a strainer is also an example of filtration. Similarly, water gets filtered when it seeps through the layer of soil. This filtered water forms underground water. Here you can also see the picture of filtration. So now let's see removal of soluble impurities. Soluble impurities present in water can be removed by boiling or by adding chemicals like chlorine, and also by using water purifiers. So now let's see the process of chlorination. This is a process of adding chlorine to water to make water fit for drinking purposes. Chlorine kills germs present in water and make it pure. So students, after that there is activity 3 which you have to perform. Okay, so now let's see moral learnt. Air is the constant pressure that we feel around us but can never see. The observable effects of air can be seen throughout nature through the swaying of the plants and trees. The air when flows with the speed and pressure is called a wind. Even though we cannot see air with our naked eyes, we can still feel it being around us at all times. We also know for the certain that without air, life itself would not exist. So now let's see recapitulation. Our planet Earth is surrounded by a thick layer of air called atmosphere. Moving air is called wind. Impure water can make us sick. Chlorine kills germs present in water. The person who studies the weather is called a meteorologist. Water becomes invisible water vapor. The heat of the sun causes winds to blow. So that's all for this chapter, students. I hope you have understood all of these topics. So now that's all for today. Now I will meet you in the next class with a new chapter. Till then, revise this chapter and keep learning.